Hello. This is an update regarding my son Elijah, who died by freezing to death outside in the cold last year in February of 2015. Now, about 1 month after my son passed away in March, I applied to the court for an emergency hearing to deal with issues in the case for my surviving son with the mother and to deal with the situation that happened. I was denied an emergency hearing, and I was puzzled by that because I thought when a child dies during a proceeding that warrants an emergency hearing more than anything else. Nonetheless, I had to wait 9 months after to even approach the matter in November of 2015. During that time, I had called the Fro office to ask them to please stop the payments of support for my son since he passed away, because the judge still sanctioned me to pay support instead of stepping in and giving an order. And there was no letter from the mom to the Fro office to say stop the payment either, which would have worked. And it was determined at that time, some of the monies that I paid was returned, and the main determination was that I wasn't supposed to be paying any support to the mother for, you know, my older son. And that is in regards to the 40% principle I've mentioned in the past, and in particular, Section 9 of the Child Support Act, dealing with, parental time with the child and shared parental time. So, my lawyer and I advised the judge that we did not want any of the mother's support going forward. We did not want any monies from her going forward. And then he replied by saying, but somebody has to pay. Nonetheless, that's the way it is. None of us are paying anything going forward. But it does beg the question, if she's doing fine now that I'm not paying her support, and I am okay without her paying any support to me, then why were you taking my money to give her in the first place? That's not always the answer and the best solution in the situation, and overshadows all the time the best interest of the child. Now, still, there is no situation that explains what happened to Elijah, how he walked up the five doors, more than 100 meters to his death in minus 30 something plus temperatures, right? Nothing from the two little sisters of the mother who was watching him. And, at the time, Christy Blanchard weighed on the situation and pointed out these discrepancies, especially the fact that the mother was on TV saying that she was at work when the police and everyone was well aware that she was not at work. It seemed to be a public relation decision to have her say that on TV. And, also discrepancies with the grandmother, who in the case said she was home, but then, recanted from her statement afterwards. And, the police said they didn't believe not one word the Marsh family said in regards to what happened with Elijah and locking the door, even being home. But unfortunately, there was no video evidence to say anything, so they couldn't really go too far with the investigation if someone wasn't coming forward to say anything. Also, I felt that Mayor Tory interfered with the investigation big time, as him and Bill Blair at the time came on TV and said that this was an accident that could have happened to anyone. And yet there's still nothing to say how would you prevent such an accident from happening. And at the time, there was about 3 children who went missing at the same time Elijah went missing. They were found alive, and people were still charged. Recently in Toronto, a little boy in the St. Clair West area went missing and was found. He wandered out of his apartment. He's 3 years old, and it's a good thing he wasn't cold outside. Otherwise, he would have died too, just like Elijah. But thank God they found him, and you know, his mother was charged in the situation. So there was a lot of discrepancies with some of the things that happened. And another thing that shocked me, which I found out later on, is that the Children's Aid never even investigated in regards to Elijah's death. You know, so it's all the stuff was very disheartening to be a part of that and go through the whole thing. It didn't feel like one was alive with any power, And in the court documents since 2011, I pointed out to Justice Scheer that my children were in danger at 145 Neptune because of lax, you know, babysitting practices and the fact that the mother most times was not with the children at all. My oldest son was about 3 or 4 at the time in 2011, and times when I'd go to 145 Neptune, the door would be open, the little sisters wouldn't be around, and I'd just get my son and go. And being made aware of that, Justice Scheer replied and said, I am focusing too much on the shortcomings of the mother and more concerned with my rights than the rights of the child. That was asinine to me, Justice Scheer, because if the rights of the parents aren't protected, how could the rights of the children be protected, right? And you go forward, and there was another character in the case, this Justin individual who collected the money on behalf of Elijah from the loving people of Toronto, who gave him a lot of money, $170,000. And this is a guy who claimed that he was a parent and didn't try to contact the father at all. And then afterwards left a statement with, I think, the Toronto Sun, saying that unfortunately you can't force people to do the right thing, because after he transferred the money over to the mother at the Tim Hortons, then they cut him off completely and had no contact with him after that. Some of the money went to further trying to alienate me from my surviving son, which the grandmother attempted after the death of my son Elijah. And in court, I tried to go away with my surviving son, and the mother brought a motion saying that it would be dangerous for him to travel with me. And I'm there sitting and watching the judge listen to this and thinking in my mind, my son just died with you. How could you say that anybody is dangerous to a child when a child just died with you? And the lawyer said that where I was going to Grenada did not have enough laws to protect the child from me. And I was listening to it, and I'm thinking to myself, Grenada is a British colony just like Canada, and often the rules are quite parallel, but this is what the system does. It gives these people arrogance to say nonsensical things, bring ridiculous arguments and things that they don't have to pay for. Often in this case, when I'd bring evidence that, look, they lied on the previous motion, the mother gave false statements, witnesses gave false statements, and they would say, that was the past, we want to deal with the future going forward. But this is a staple of the faculty. They allow bad behavior. They will pat a lot of the mothers on the back for being unreasonable, breaking court rules, breaking court orders, breaking the own orders that they themselves ordered, and making them feel they're right by giving them monies for that, so they could continue on with the same cycle of interfering with access and wanting monies for interfering with access. The system failed completely to protect my children by all the motions I was bringing forward. I brought more than 30 something motions to this court, all trying to get more access to my children and be in my children's lives to make sure that they were safe. But their judge and staff was more interested in profiling me as a father who, doesn't know how to take care of kids, and really it's not important if I'm around my children at all. After the death of Elijah, I was very disappointed with the media broadcast. I was the parent who let myself be known to the media. I called them. They did not call me. And there was nothing on it about, I'm the only one who mentioned his surviving brothers. No one ever even knew Elijah had brothers. All they talked about was the mom and how bad the situation must be for the mom. And his surviving brothers are still asking, what happened to my brother? He doesn't even like going outside. And that unfaithful morning when Elijah passed away, he was supposed to be with myself and his brothers, as I was supposed to pick him up for the access time on that day, and then I experienced systematic harassment. The police calling me saying the mother feels scared, we're just checking to make sure you didn't come off your rockers. Children aid calling me saying my son has anxiety, harassing my son, bringing him outside of school, outside of gym class to talk about his dead brother while he's at school. And the school wanted to put him in all kinds of programs the mother is allowing, because then it looks like you care, right? It looks like you care and you're doing something for your son. Now, the children's aid, it turns out, though they were trying to make money in that regard after the fact, never even investigated the fact that Elijah passed away, though these people vehemently assisted the mother in the case that we had ongoing. And these are a lot of the things that happened and occurred in the case. My main focus now is just to stay level and make sure that Elijah's surviving brothers have a good idea of the future and know that life is worth living, and at this point in time, if you're ever in these situations, a good thing to do immediately is to ask for the office of the children's lawyer to be involved in your case. They're better than the biased Children's Aid Society. They will actually go to the different households and get the children's opinion, and ask the children how they're doing. The court and these people often know nothing about the children, don't ask anything. During the funeral, I looked around and didn't see any of the lawyers who was making these bold claims of my children being safe, despite my warnings and my pleas to the court to protect them from the negligence that I witnessed myself at 145 Neptune. None of them did I see at the funeral. So as for the office of the children's lawyer, the court also denied me that every single time I asked, and the mother also denied every single time I asked for the office of the children's lawyer, who should be funded more than the children's aid, to be inducted into this case for the welfare of my children. And that is it. Just thanks one more time to the people of Toronto for thinking of my son Elijah and giving so much to him. And when you think about that, all the money that was received, even at the wake, there was people giving envelopes of monies to the mother. And till this date, you go down to St. Clara Rogers at Prospect Cemetery, and Elijah doesn't even have a tombstone on his grave. He has a plaque that's covered up by the teddy bears around it. And it doesn't even say brother of so-and-so, son of so-and-so and such. Nothing like that. And every other grave around it has a tombstone. Yet more than $100,000 beyond the monies that was asked for originally was given to give him the best possible burial. But with that, you have a good day. And here is an excerpt of the Children's Aid Society, whom called me to harass more after my son died. And my suggestion to anyone you speaking to these people, have a witness with you or record them, because they lie numerous times. They will never admit to the things they say, and they will carry the lies to the court and let it go as far as it goes. So with that, take care, and here it is. Them to do their research before they call someone, and that's the thing that put me closer to the level of stress that I'm already on. Given the situation, I'm sure you're aware of what happened, and the thing that is beyond me, that is crazy to me, is that you guys never, the worker told me that you guys never investigated the Elijah Marsh situation.
Excuse me. First of all, Mr. Barry, I just want to say how sorry I am about Elijah. I didn't say that to you at the beginning.
No, that's fine. I've had 1,000 sorries. Thank you.
So, sorry, your question to me was...
You guys, I found out from the worker that you guys didn't investigate in regards to Elijah.
Well, we didn't, now my understanding, we didn't receive any referrals from anybody about the situation, so we didn't investigate.
So you didn't think that a child dies while being in the presence of people under 18? This is all over the news. You guys didn't, isn't this your department where you guys step up?
Well, I mean, it's, some of the details I can't really speak to, again, and I wouldn't want to speak to unless I knew all of the details. So if you have worries about who was the care providing him, then you can certainly talk to me about that.
I think the whole...
I can't really comment on any situation that I'm not aware of.
Well, I think the whole public, being how high profile the case was, is concerned about who the caregivers were when Elijah was supposed to be being watched. Why she lied about being at work and where she was when Elijah died. Because everyone is wanting to know information about this, and I'm really shocked because I was told that the coroner's office and the children's aid was mandatory when a child died. That's why you guys received no call. Do you understand?
Well, I would have to check our records. I'm not sure if a call was made. I'm not sure if the referral was made, Mr. Barry. So, and I'm not sure if it was investigated. I don't. It could have been, and I just am not aware of it. I'm not aware of everything that happens at the organization.